It's me again for another country. And yeah, here we go with Latvia. Starting off, keep on going over the Baltic states. Starting with yesterday with Lithuania, now we're on Latvia. And yeah, tomorrow we're on Estonia. So yeah, here we go. Sorry, excuse me. Just said something to eat. So yeah. Here we go, and yeah. Starting off with the history as usual. The earliest people in Latvia were Stone Age hunter-gatherers, who arrived after the last ice age about 9000 BC, but to ancestors of modern Latvians and were Baltic tribes who emigrated there in about 2000 BC. And in the 12th century AD, some of the last pagans in Europe lived in Latvia, and the Pope decided to convert them to Christianity by force. And in 1201 he sent German crusaders, commanded by Bishop Albert von Buxhoveden of Bremen, and the crusaders sailed into what is now the Gulf of Riga. And the laddie landed in the fishing village on the site of Riga and built a fortified settlement there. And Riga then became the capital of what is now Latvia. From their base in Latvia, the Germans marched inland and took the land from the native people. The Germans formed a quasi-monastic order called the Brotherhood of the Sword, and they called the Baltic region Livonia. And in 1237 the Brotherhood of Swords merged with another German order, the Teutonic Knights, and called themselves the Livonian Order. The Germans made themselves into a feudal ruling class in Latvia, and the Latvians who were originally there were made second-class citizens. But the Germans founded a number of towns and cities and all in Latvia, including Riga, Ventspils and Kodiga. And in 1282 the Riga joined the Hanseatic League and was a federation of cities of Germany and the Baltic, which control trade in Northern Europe. And Valmiera joined the Hanseatic League in 1356. Yeah. And by the times of the Reformation, so it had reached Latvia in 1521, and new Protestant doctrines were widespread, supported especially in towns. But Latvia suffered disaster in 1558, as the increasingly powerful country of Russia sought access to the sea and invaded Latvia in 1558. And the Livonian Wars, as they were called, lasted until 1583. And meanwhile, in 1561, the Poles invaded Latvia from the south and conquered the Latgale region in the southeast, and ruled the area until the 18th century, and the Livonian Order itself was dissolved in 1562. Just an email. And then in 1621 the Swedes conquered Riga and northeast Latvia, and they held the region until they fought in the Great Northern War against Russia from 1700 to 1721. And the Russians captured Riga in 1710, and all the Swedish territory in Latvia came under Russian control. And when to rise at spirituality in 1685, Ernst Gluck, who lived from 1654 to 1705, translated the New Testament into Latvian. And in 1689 he translated the Old Testament as well into Latvian. And at the end of the 18th century, Russia, Prussia and Austria divided up Poland between them, and as a result the Polish held parts of Latvia came under Russian control, and from then on all of Latvia was ruled by the Tsar. And in the 18th century there was a German elite. There was still a German elite, and native Latvians were still second-class citizens. And during the 19th century, Latvia experienced a rapid economic development, and in 1800, Riga only had a population of about 30,000, but by 1900 it had reached 500,000. Meanwhile, in the 1810s, the Latvian nobility ended serfdom. Furthermore, during the 19th century, nationalism in Latvia and interest in Latvian culture revived, as a man named Christianis Barons from 1835 to 1923 collected Latvian folklore, as the first Latvian newspaper was published in 1862. Now in 1985 a wave of demonstrations came in Russia and Latvia, and the Tsarist government had suppressed the demonstrations and imprisoned the leaders of the Latvian nationalists, and as the revolt was seen as a Boston demonstration, seen as brutally suppressed. And in 1918 Russia collapsed and much of the territory was taken by the Germans, including Latvia. However, the Germans themselves surrendered in November 1918, and the Latvians then declared themselves independent, and the formal declaration of independence was made in a theatre in Riga on the 18th of November 1918, as Karlis Ulmanis from 1877 to 1942 became the head of state. However, the situation was complicated by the fact that German troops were still left in Latvia after the defeat of Germany. But the communist Russians had no intention of letting Latvia go. On the 3rd of January 1919, they captured Riga and installed a tyrannical regime led by a Latvian named Petris Stuka. And when the Russians captured Riga, Ulmanis fled to Liepaja, which was then occupied by German troops. And in May 1919, the Germans drove the communists out of Riga, and Ulmanis returned to Riga in July of 1919. The Germans had withdrawn from Latvia by the end of 1919, as the Russians still held parts of southeastern Latvia, but they were driven out by force in the winter of 1919-1920. The Russians finally recognised Latvian independence by a treaty signed on the 11th of August 1920, and a year later in 1921 Latvia joined the League of Nations. Like the rest of the world, Latvia had suffered greatly from the economic depression of the 1930s, and as a result many people grew disillusioned with democracy and right-wing groups grew. So in 1934 Ulmanis declared a state of emergency, and Latvia gradually became a dictatorship. Meanwhile, in 1935 a freedom monument was erected in Riga, and in 1939 the Nazis and the Communists agreed to divide Europe between them, and Latvia was assigned to the Soviet Union. And in July 1940 the Red Army occupied Latvia, and in August 1941 Latvia was made part of the Soviet Union, regardless of the wishes of the Latvian people. And many Latvians were deported to Siberia or just straight up shot. And in June 1941, when the Germans invaded the Soviet Union, within weeks they were in control of Latvia. and they began the process of rounding up the Jewish population of Latvia and essentially murdered them. But when the war turned against Germany, the Russians captured Riga in October 1944, and in the last stages of the war, many Latvians fled to the west, as they were the lucky ones. And as after the war, tens of thousands of Latvians were deported or killed. And some brave Latvians fled into the forest and fought a guerrilla war against the communists, which continued till 1956. And meanwhile, in the meantime, the Soviet government moved many ethnic Russians into Latvia to break up the ethnic uniformity. And yet by the 1987, communism was starting to crumble and demonstrations began in Latvia. In 1988, the Popular Front of Latvia was formed, and in 1989, the Popular Front demanded full independence for Latvia. And then in March 1990, the Front won the majority of the Latvian Supreme Council, and the Council issued a declaration of restored independence. However, in January 1991, the Soviet Union sent troops to attack the TV tower in Riga. Afterwards, many Latvians were sent to Riga to protest and stop further Soviet attacks, as the Soviet troops did attack and the Interior Ministry of Riga, but they were forced to retreat, leaving because they left 5 Latvians dead. And thus the communist tyranny in Latvia was kind of collapsing, followed by a failed coup in August 1991 and the US recognised Latvian independence on the 2nd of September 1991, and the Soviet Union followed on the 6th of September 1991, and the last Russian troops left Latvia in 1994. And following the collapse of quickly. And then following the collapse of communism, the Latvian economy began to grow steadily. And in 1993, a new currency, the Lat, was introduced, and the completely free parliamentary elections were held, as Latvia joined the World Trade Organization in 1999. And also in 1999, the first female president of Latvia was elected, called Vicky Freiberger. Yeah, moving into like the 21st century kind of things. In 2002, Latvia won Eurovision Song Contest, and a year later the competition was held in Riga. And in 2004, Latvia joined NATO and the EU, but suffered badly in the recession of 2009. But Latvia did recover and to become prosperous again. In 2014, Latvia joined the Euro, and in 2014 we became the European Capital of Culture, as the population stands somewhere around 2 million today. So yeah, moving on to language, as I've got the most of it done. So yeah, the Latvian language is also called Lettish, Latvian Latvisu, Valoda, an East Baltic language spoken primarily in Latvia, which has been the official language since 1918, and it belongs to the Baltic branch of the Indo-European family of languages. And in the late 20th century, Latvian was spoken by about 1.5 million people, And the earliest text in Latvian was a Roman Catholic catechism and a Lutheran catechism, both written in Gothic script and date from the 16th century, and the first grammar of the language appeared in the 18th century, and by the end of the 19th century the literary language was well developed, and a modified Latin alphabet was adopted in 1922. And there's three distinct dialects groups: East or High Latvian, West Latvian and Central Latvian. And the last is more conservative, like West Central Latvian is more conservative and was the basis of the modern literary language. Although closely related to Lithuanian, Latvian is more innovating than the Lithuanian in many respects. For example, the reduction of vowels and final syllables has progressed much further in Latvian, and furthermore, because of the influence of Finnish, word accent has been fixed on the first syllable. So yeah, just a little bit on languages and now for a little bit on legends. As Latvia has a proud and rich heritage of folklore and customs that is specifically unique to Latvia, and a significant part of the modern Latvian lifestyle includes a unique tradition as summer solstice holiday, Yani or Ligo, and the Latvian song or dance festival, a treasure trove of folk songs, dainas, mythology and traditional dress and folk dancing. Whereas each deity in Latvian folklore has its own symbol, which protects its wearer, providing strength or beauty, while folk songs, fairy tales and legends describe life long ago. Customs are most evidently manifest at the Yani summer solstice celebration via mummery during the winter solstice, and the Maternity festival in February, and specific egg dyeing traditions at Easter. Yeah, and ahead of Yani, Christmas and other celebrations, Latvian towns are known for their annual fairs that always provide a lesson all about traditional craftsmanship like weaving ceramics, basketry, jewellery making, wood carving and metal forging. And you might even be able to get to try out a few of them. And every 3 years the International Baltic Folk Festival, Baltica, is organised, where one can get the feel of ancient customs and rites of Latvia and those of its closest neighbouring nations, a bit like Lithuania and Estonia and all, and we'll be on Estonia tomorrow, as traditions in modern execution can be seen as a public at the Baltijas, or Baltic Sun Festival, which is dedicated to the 1236 Battle of Saule meaning sun, held in Riga every year. And the festival offers various activities from sword fighting to authentic apparel and ethno-rock concerts and all. So yeah, that is a video for today, and I'll see you all tomorrow. So yeah, bye for now, and yeah, see you all later for the news and all.